Ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? It is Monday. It is the 20th of February. And we are here. We are chilling in my car. And lately, I've been reading some great books. I've been listening to some great stories. And I've been inspired by some great people. And usually, when these three things are happening, you can expect the thought of the day. And today's thought of the day is about the Odyssey, or Odysseus, or as this great book refers to him, Odysseus, the master of landways and seaways, the great soldier and strategist. This is the Odyssey. This is by a guy named Homer. And this is a cornerstone book for me. I just got done rereading it, and let me tell you something. If there's something that really stands out to us, it's a good story. I always say that stories stick and principles fade. Why? Because, stories make up the fabric of our lives. We live in stories. And let me give you a little history about this book. This is actually a sequel to a story called the Iliad. And the Iliad is a book about the war between the Achaeans and the Trojans. It's a 10-year war. And if you've ever heard about the story of the Trojan horse, it comes from that book. But the Odyssey is about the journey home, and it centers on Odysseus, who spends his entire life trying to make it back to his home in Ithaca. And he eventually does, but it comes at the cost of 20 years of his life and horrors and sufferings beyond imagining. And you know, this takes place after him and his men survive the war. At one point, they are attacked by a cyclops. At another point, they spend months, years even, at a time going from one uninhabited island to the next one. They have to endure the dread of the ocean, Scylla and Charybdis. And at one point in the story, they come across an island that's inhabited by these sirens, these beautiful women. And they are seduced by them. And they meet the ruler of the island, this witch named Circe. And what they didn't know was that within the confines of Circe's palace, time was altered. What seemed like only an hour or two for them inside the palace actually equated to a day or two outside of those walls. So an afternoon spent with Circe and her sirens ended up tacking on 5 years to the journey. Imagine that. And then at one point, Zeus sends down Hermes to deliver a message to Circe to say, hey, listen, it's not within your control to manipulate this man's journey home. You're to release him at once, and you're going to give him the instructions on how to get back. And Circe, the witch, complies. She sends Odysseus and his men off, and she tells them that they have to travel to the edge of the world to find this blind prophet named Tiresias. And they're going to find Tiresias in the underworld. And they have to sacrifice a ram into the river of fire in order to be given the instructions on how to get home. So they're off. They're at sea for another couple of months until finally they see this rock on the horizon. And as they get closer, this rock gets bigger and bigger. And above this rock is like bellowing black smoke. It's like a volcanic island that never stops erupting. And they quickly realize after they travel into the crevices on their boat into this rock, they're in the underworld. The ambient light goes from daylight to midnight, and it's only illuminated by the fires and the brimstone of the underworld. There's like fire falling from the sky, and his men are horrified by this. They're terrified. This is actually one of my favorite parts, probably the most favorite part of the book for me. They dock their ship, and his men, Odysseus' men, quickly realize that this is a feat. He's going to have to travel across the river of fire. They say, let us come with you. Let us help you, Odysseus. And he says to them, no, I have to do this alone. And he huddles them around, and he says to them, I know that you would follow me now. You have always followed me. He says, you are my warriors. And he says, but your time has not come to enter this house of death. He says that we've suffered the loss of many men, but together we have survived together. And he says, but now we may never be in each other's eyes ever again. And one of his men, in desperation, says, you will be back. And Odysseus quickly responds to him, says, and if I'm not? And they all collapse on him in love. And they say, we will not reach Ithaca without you. And Odysseus quickly says, you will reach Ithaca, you will reach home. He says, it is I who am lost. And he takes the ram and he gets off the boat. And he turns back around and he looks to his men and he says, and if I do not return, you row without end. He says, you will reach Ithaca again. And he goes off with the ram to cross the river, and he finds Tiresias and he sacrifices the ram, and Tiresias tells him how to get back. And he returns to the ship, much to the delight of his men, and he gets back on and they sail off and away. Now, let me ask you something. What if Odysseus had said, the fittest among you will take the ram, you'll cross the river, you'll sacrifice the ram into the fire. I expect this task to be done efficiently and quickly. When you return, I expect a report recorded in the journal, and please personally tell me when it's done. If you don't comply, expect some swift action taken against you. What if he said that? You see, Odysseus wasn't remembered for being a great manager. Odysseus was remembered. Odysseus was exalted by his men for being a great leader. You see, managers use fear, intimidation, coercion to get what they want. But leaders use motivation, inspiration, encouragement to get what we want. Let me say that again. Managers get what they want. Leaders get what we want. That's what they do. You know, leadership, it's hard work and it's heart work. It's hard, H-A-R-D work, and it's heart work, H-E-A-R-T. It comes from within. It comes from the inside. That's my interpretation of what leadership is, but there are many interpretations of it. I mean, there's business leadership, there's corporate leadership, there's academic leadership, there's athletic leadership, there's military leadership. But let me share something with you that I got from one of my Maxwell books. I love this. It says, leadership is more than management. It says, leadership is people more than projects. It's movement more than maintenance. It's art more than science. It's intuition more than formula. It's vision more than procedure. It's risk more than caution. It's action more than reaction. It's relationships more than rules. Leadership is who you are more than what you do. Whoa! That is good. You know, in PME, in Professional Military Education, we teach in SA05, Leader Influence, that leaders are sliced. That's an acronym that stands for selfless, loyal, integrity, commitment, energy, and decisiveness. Leaders exercise selflessness. They model loyalty. They possess integrity. They stick to it with commitment. They exude energy, and they lead with decisiveness. That's what leadership is. Man, I feel like I'm teaching again. What is someone told me, he's like, man, Sergeant Rustami, I wish I was in your flight. I wanted to be in your class. Hey, you are in my class. You know what I'm saying? But, man, what is the sum of all these parts? What is sliced? Selflessness, loyalty, integrity, commitment, energy, decisiveness. What does all these added up mean? I think it means character. Remember, leadership is not what you do. Leadership is who you are. It's your character. One of my favorite books by a guy named Theo Sebastian, he talks about character. He says, although many factors influence one's character, character is the result of one's own training and conditioning of the will. He says, you are the architect of your own character. Your character is something that others cannot steal or take away. He says that your character and your good examples are the greatest contributions that you could leave behind in this world. He says that if you take care of your character, your reputation will take care of itself. Let me say that again. If you take care of your character, your reputation will take care of itself. He says material goods will come and go, but character and reputation will abide and will be remembered long after you are gone. Whew. Tio Sebastian. Let me send a shout out to Tio Sebastian. He's good. It's character. That's what it is. One of my other interpretations of leadership, I think the number one principle, the number one thing when it comes to leadership is this. When it comes to leadership, it's visual. Leadership is visual. It's a visual act, and it's a visual responsibility. That means that the most important principle in leadership is that people do what people see. So when you're a leader, when you're in a leadership position, when you're leading people, when you're influencing people, it's not what you say to them that makes you effective. It's what they see in you. Remember, leadership, it's not what you do, it's who you are. It's what they see in you. That's what leadership is. Lastly, let me leave you with this. This comes from Maxwell again. Leaders know the way. You know where I'm going with this. Leaders know the way, go the way, and show the way. That's what leaders do, baby. But let me add to that. If I had to add to that, I'd say this. If leaders know the way, go the way, and show the way. If you know the way, but you don't go the way, don't ever try to show others the way. Okay? Let me say that again. If you know the way, but you don't go the way, don't ever try to show others the way. That's the thought of the day. We're here. We're just chilling in my car. And we're singing like the birds sing. Not worrying about who hears or what they think. I look forward to talking with you next week. You might not have needed to hear this, but maybe you know someone that needed to hear this. I hope you share this. Share this with somebody. Until then, stay well, stay healthy. I'll talk with you next weekend.